Welcome, Savvy Seeker, to the Spiritual Phoenix podcast. This is your audio oasis and paranormal portal. You can experience legendary guests, thought-provoking tarot readings, astonishing astrological forecasts, and exposure to ideas intent on igniting your unlimited inspiration. Subscribe today to keep your fire burning. One last thing, you are encouraged to reach out and ask questions. Become a part of the show. Now, please enjoy today's episode. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Fool's Guide to Tarot. This is the second week. We are joined with Stefanie Caponi. Stefanie, how are you doing?
I'm great, Ross. How are you?
I am doing exceptionally well, thank you. Stefanie, will you give us a rundown of what we covered last week?
Last week was our first episode. We talked about the Fool. We talked about when you're starting out in tarot, how that can be a little scary, and it's like the Fool. You're leaping into something new. And we talked about finding a deck that you resonate with and how to choose the right deck for you. So I think we'll kind of continue on that this week when we discuss the Magician and the Aces and talk about the decks that we use and what draws us to that particular energy.
Very, very cool. I like it. So I guess we'll start with the Magician. What does the Magician represent to you?
So the Magician, I feel, the Magician realizes that they are the channel, that they have access to all of the elements, which are earth, water, fire, and air, represented by pentacles, wands, swords, and cups. And taking all of those elements, you're able to bring things down from the ethers and make them into something tangible on this earthly plane.
So manifestation.
Yes, your favorite word, Ross.
I'm trying to be open-minded towards it. Come on now.
You're doing good. I'm proud of you.
I'm working on it.
Yes, the Magician is the master manifester.
So I'm trying to think of how to articulate this clearly. Because he has kind of these elements in their purest form, he's able to create things. So his mind is clear and kind of undisturbed. His emotions are unclouded by anything kind of impacting them negatively. He allows them to flow freely. He is not consumed by the powers of creativity, because creativity can be destructive at a certain point as well if it's mischanneled. And he's not so bound by earthly things that he loses touch with all of these other elements. Is that a good way to look at it?
Absolutely. That's a great way. Yeah, I feel like the Magician is very tapped into source energy and very aware, humbly aware that they are, divinity is within each person.
Yeah, I think that the humbleness or the humility aspect of it is incredibly important, because without humility, it would be corrupt in lots of senses, and that's where things could go awry. This one little cheat sheet that I have mentions power and action being associated with the Magician. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Not to go too far forward, but if you look at card 1 and 2, you have the Magician and the High Priestess. So it's almost like the yin and yang energy. So you start with, the Magician makes things happen. It's actionable. Whereas the High Priestess is very receptive. But we'll talk about her next week. That was a little spoiler alert.
Well played.
Yeah, the Magician takes those things, and kind of like we spoke about last week, where you take all of those elements, you need also spirit to make them tangible.
So looking at the artwork of the card, I'm going to hold up mine first because I have it handy with me. he has kind of this symbol representing the sword held above his head there in this one. Would that be kind of representing a higher consciousness or higher thought because it's up above his head?
Absolutely.
And then the other ones are all kind of even on the table. That's kind of the balance of the other elements of everything.
Absolutely. I feel like on several cards, the magician is holding something up, and I feel like that's kind of pointing that everything comes from source above, and as above, so below.
I think that's a really cool point as well. It's kind of like this is the starting point, and everything else fractals out from this. It's kind of like the capstone in reverse almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so wow, that was easy to say. How do the aces relate to the magician, or should we talk more about the magician?
I think that we can kind of like move back and forth between.
Okay.
So the magician has all of the elements on their card. So whenever you're doing a reading and you get the magician, then you know that you're working with all of the elements. And when you pull the aces, you can kind of feel like you're in the energy of the magician where you've channeled something, but it's more of a specific element. So whenever I do a reading, I always look at the aces when they appear and I say, you've got this opportunity where you've channeled and you've called this in, this particular element, and it's specifically for you, and all you have to do is be open to receiving it, and then you'll get the next steps will come to you on how to utilize it and grow it.
So the next thing would be, this is kind of where sliding back to the Fool comes in, being open to the experience and just kind of letting it unfold without putting too much force on it. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times people, they miss because they are forcing something so much that they miss when those just gifts come to you. And I think the aces are gifts. They're gifts from the universe. And they're either like with the Ace of Wands, it's like the spark of creativity, an idea, or knowing what the action to take is. Like sometimes you have to shut your brain down so that can flow into you. Get quiet, which is very hard to do because everybody wants to just go, go, go. Tarot in general is very getting quiet with yourself and being receptive.
Yeah, I like it. It's about internal reflection and kind of getting this inner stillness and letting your consciousness unfold unperturbed.
Right. Sometimes people are like, I don't know, where's the sign? Where's the sign? And it's like, you get something, you're like, well, your sign is coming. Like, chill out. So you can like recognize it, if you're looking here, looking there and letting your mind spin out, then you're missing it. But it's also, I don't want to misspeak by saying missing it, because honestly, when you receive a card, if something is really meant for you, there's no way you can miss it. Eventually you're gonna see the sign.
I like it. So what does the number 1 in particular mean in regards to the aces and the magician overall?
In numerology, the number 1 is the sign of the individual. So when you're thinking about the individual, that's just you, which is why with the Moon Void Tarot, my deck, I have just one single character because it's about, you are the manifester. You're the creator of your destiny. You're in charge. You work with the universe. Nobody else has control over you. The 1 is the foundation, really. You can't build any other numbers without 1. So you need to have a really strong, solid foundation.
This is an interesting question that's come up. Is 1 really the loneliest number? I'm joking. Sorry.
You're fired.
My serious question, I guess, would be, are you familiar with the Platonic realm of forms?
Please enlighten me and our listeners.
It is this concept of Plato where he talked about that there exists in this realm of forms the purest essence of something, but it's not able to manifest on the physical reality, and everything in physical reality is kind of an extension of that. Would ones then therefore be almost kind of like this Platonic realm of forms where it is the most purest emanation of that concept?
I mean, that's definitely makes sense.
Okay, cool. I know that's like a weird question. I'm like talking about Greek mythology.
No, I think that, I mean, I talk about astrology, so bring all layers into it. It's all connected.
I guess it's like being the magician, using the tools accordingly when needed.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to think about it in aesthetic terms, think about primary colors. There's 3 primary colors that are all other colors are built off of, but you can't break those primary colors down.
So it's like unmutable. It's the unmutable essence of these core concepts.
Absolutely.
I
So,
like that.
Yeah, so the elements in their Platonic form are the aces.
Yeah, I like it a lot. My cheat sheet that I have here, I'm going to keep referring to this cheat sheet because I dig it. It says that aces are all about potential. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. We talked a little bit in our last episode about free will.
Mm-hmm.
So an ace is the potential for a new beginning. And you have the free will to take it and run with it and let whatever happens, develop, or you can ignore it.
I like that. Yeah. So it's kind of planting the seed if you have the courage enough and the capacity enough to let it flourish and grow.
Absolutely. And I think that it's important for people to also realize that the universe is constantly raining aces on us. You never run out of opportunities. It's about being open to them. And if you can never feel like you've missed something, because there's always another opportunity in a different form right behind that one. They're all around at all times.
It's just that we shut ourselves off from them is what I'm picking up on.
Right. Like a lot of people when doing readings talk about like they regret, like, oh, I should have taken that job, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. I should have taken that opportunity. And it's like, you know what? If you're constantly thinking about this ace that you didn't take, you're missing all the other aces that are around you.
They're shooting all over themselves.
They are shooting all over themselves. Exactly.
Okay. What is your favorite one of the aces? And what does it mean to you?
Ooh. That is a great question. They're all so different. I love the Ace of Wands because I'm an artist and I love having a spark of creativity. And it's it feels like an opportunity for something that like is gonna make me feel really fulfilled in that way, and something that's gonna grow really big. Like if you think about it, the suits start at aces, which are ones, and go up to 10. So it's like it's that brand new beginning, and you have no idea what it's going to become. Obviously, a lot of people love the Ace of Pentacles because they're like, oh, it's a job offer. But I think that if you are an entrepreneur or a creative, then you see every Ace of Wands as a job offer or a relationship offer. I can turn this into any element, the Wands. How about you?
In the one deck that I'm looking at now, my favorite one is the Ace of Drums, which is actually the Ace of Pentacles. And I like how it's structured in this deck, because it's really kind of about being in harmony with the material world is how I take it, like being in rhythm with everything. And I find that to be really peaceful. But I guess in tarot overall, my favorite ace would be Ace of Cups, because being somebody who's kind of had an emotionally chaotic life, the concept of kind of having this abundance and overflowingness of emotions is really appealing to me. I like all of them. That's the thing. I want to catch them all.
So they're like your Pokemon?
They are. Yes. What is
anybody made a Pokemon tarot deck?
They did?
No, I'm asking. Has anybody done that?
I don't know. I'm not up with the Pokemon.
I'm not either, but that could be an interesting concept. Anyways,
that would be unique to see.
I feel like, so may I speak a little about the Ace of Cups with you?
Yeah, go right ahead. No, you can't. That one's off limits.
So when the Ace of Cups comes up in readings, I always ask people, I say, you know what, the opportunity for a new emotional connection is present. So I always say, in order for you to receive that, you have to really take a look at your emotional self. What's your relationship with yourself? Because you bring in the type of energy that you're putting out. So if you're not emotionally stable, or you have some things that you are still needing to work on, you're going to bring in somebody that matches that energy. So you're going to probably meet somebody who may not be emotionally stable. Nobody's going to fix you or fill your cup. The Ace of Cups is about filling your own cup first. And when you're full, then then you can certainly, this is like a new love coming in, or a new friendship, or something that's just going to really resonate with your heart. But first check where your heart's at.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's important, especially nowadays, because I'll hear oftentimes people saying they only attract these type of people or this type of people. And it's really like, that's about you. Water seeks its own level. And especially tying it into cups, like that's real on like a whole nother level. Water seeks its own level. And they're like, you're getting what you're putting out. And there's this saying, garbage in, garbage out. So like if I'm putting nothing but garbage and negativity into myself emotionally, it's no surprise that it comes out, and that's what I attract in. Although I don't like law of attraction, that's a whole different topic, but
you just basically said it in a nutshell.
I have my own snooty way of viewing it. Let me be.
I just want to like poke a bear on that topic, but we'll save it for another day. So, right. So water seeks its level. So with the Ace of Cups, we're really working at making sure that we're aligned emotionally with where we want to be, so that we can bring in, you know, like we said before, the one is the foundation. So are you starting on an emotionally solid foundation, so that you can then interact at the highest level with others?
Yeah, I really like that. It's like being in emotional integrity, like being unified in all of your approach to everything, and having the proper motives in check when you're going about it.
Absolutely.
I can dig it. How about, what does the Ace of Pentacles mean to you? Because I gave my interpretation from this deck specifically. What is that about to you?
I loved your interpretation of it.
Thank you.
I always, I've said before that I feel like the Pentacles are a lot about something tangible. So I feel like when you get an Ace of Pentacles, it's a tangible offer, whether that's for a job, you know, or it could be an idea, something that wants to become grounded and become real, and something that you can trust and rely on. I look at everything from a lens of a feeling perspective. So I'm like, when I see a pentacle, I'm like, can I trust it? Is it secure? Is it going to bring me are my feelings tangible? Is there security? Like, I feel like it's security. So sometimes that could be if you're worried about your home. It could be a new home or something that's going to like help you, something you can build on, basically.
I like that concept and kind of what you're talking about. Looking at the card that I have, there's these pine trees in the background of it, and it's about like being rooted, and it ties into your concept of like security, like being rooted, secured, and like really grounded in everything. And I think that I like that interpretation a lot. Looking at my cheat sheet, it says manifestation and prosperity, which I think is, like you had kind of touched on, the more common aspect of it, but there's a lot of deeper, I don't want to say esoteric, but maybe subtle nuances to what these cards actually mean when people begin to digest them on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And you said manifestation, and I feel like every ace is about manifestation. So whenever that comes up, you're manifesting something. But manifesting is based on your own energy and your own energetic connection with source. So that's why they're all magician on a certain level, just with a focus on that particular element, in my opinion.
No, I like that. So this is a very simplified concept of it, but it's kind of like being a water mage or a fire mage or a earth mage, and like having specificity in that specific element.
Yes. What mage are you?
I'm number one. I'm just the major. I'm all the things. No.
And humble, so humble.
Right now, I'd say that I am more in the concept of the Ace of Wands. I'm very much in this creative space and very motivated in how I'm approaching my life and really just getting my side of the street cleaned up. How about yourself? Where are you at right now?
Absolutely. I would like to be back in Ace of Wands. I feel like creativity, that's a whole nother discussion. Well, I guess
no time like the present.
I don't know. Sometimes I create in different mediums, so many different mediums, and my favorite is drawing, and that's something that I haven't really been called to do, and I'm missing it. So I would like that back. I've been writing more lately, but it's being able to channel your creativity in many different mediums.
Let me ask you this question then, because I'm curious to your response. Would you say that it's also about the ability to recreate yourself or to create yourself into your highest potential?
Ooh, I love that. Yes, absolutely. That's a great way of looking at that.
Because I'm really of the mindset that kind of our lives are like the greatest masterpiece, and it's like living art if you're doing it correctly, or it's also like this art project gone awry if you're not.
I love that. That's great.
One of the ones that we haven't talked about yet would be the Ace of Swords. And I'm going to bring up this card because it has kind of a dark association in some ways, or at least that's the way that I take it. And this one, Swords, is represented by bows. And there's kind of this overcast, cloudy sky, which there is a cloud on the more traditional Ace of Swords as well. What does that mean to you? What does the cloud mean to you? And then what does the card itself mean to you?
Well, there's clouds on mine too. And I took the clouds as not to be ominous, but because it's usually something coming out of nothing, coming out of the ethers, coming out of the sky, is how I interpreted that. And as far as like the dark clouds parting with the Ace of Swords, I would say that would be clarity coming out of a fog.
Well played.
But
Yeah.
it's just so interesting. Like there's a multitude of ways. I feel like with the card that you showed, that with the bow and arrow, it's very confrontational.
Hmm.
Like let me like shoot you with some truth, kind of thing.
The truth seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I like. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
um.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, sorry. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, like, when I see the bow, what comes up to me is kind of the bow is putting in the required footwork, and the arrow is the intention. So it's kind of like the intention of looking at the shadow self and maybe getting some clarity of thought by really getting intimate with our own minds, at least in this card specifically. But I like how you had talked about clarity, because that was kind of the key word that I was coming to mind. Yeah, I think it's also about kind of looking at the artwork on this one specifically about the unification of duality and kind of getting to like that one substance again, just like it is a one, and getting to understand that dark and light are both settings on the same dimmer switch, I guess. So they're not opposites; they're one thing.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That's a wonderful way of looking at it. I like that a lot. I always kind of looked at it as in, like coming through the clouds in times of confusion, having moments of clarity, and
Mm-hmm.
having also ideas coming to you, even if you don't know how you're going to act upon them when they come. Like pay attention to them, write them down. So like sometimes when this card comes up, I'll tell people like maybe it's time to like journal,
Hmm.
and keep a notebook on you, or use the notes app on your phone. But I always say a journal because I think that it's really powerful to write, like that, your hand and pen to paper, especially if you're in manifestation mode. It's time to like take your ideas and not only speak them into existence, but write them down.
I definitely think that there's a lot of validity to that. And this is kind of a personal development, but also practical look at things tangent. So I've heard that a goal isn't a goal until you write it down, for one. So when you begin to write stuff down, you're like already manifesting it into reality. You're taking it out of the mind, putting it down on paper. Then there's this whole concept of when you look at, first off, the word spelling literally has spell in it. So there's magic associated with writing in that capacity. And then grammar comes from the Germanic word grimoire, which is a book of spells. So our language is heavily evolved around the concept of it being magical. And there is something that really happens with that. And on like a personal note, I've been getting up every morning and writing down 7 goals that I want to accomplish, and then doing my tasks for the day, like every morning. Then I review it at night before I do my daily personal inventory to make sure that like I'm keeping on track with myself. My life has changed, motivation through the roof, like happiness, contentment, purpose, all that stuff off the charts just from the simple act of writing shit down. So like there's something to it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that if you follow, I mean, and this is way off the subject of tarot, but if you follow anybody who's doing things to up level their lives, which is magician work, manifesting work, it's like being a boss. It all starts with how you set the tone for your day. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and not just spiritual ones. I listen to business podcasts, and everybody talks about having a morning practice and how setting your intentions really dictates, it's you telling the universe how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think that that's really, really important. And I mean, it's funny because it's a tangent, but it's not, in the sense that like all of the concepts in tarot are literally all life in general. It's life encapsulated in these 78 images. So you can't really have a conversation where tarot isn't involved or there's not some card that speaks for it. It's just funny.
Yeah, like a lot of the podcasts that I listen to are all about mindset. And I feel like the Ace of Swords is the ultimate card of cleaning up your mindset, just like the Ace of Cups is cleaning up your emotional and self and your feelings. It's like, okay, you can actually work with your mind. And when you wake up each morning, while you sleep, you've reset yourself, and you wake up and you say, okay, these are my goals for the day. This is how I want to structure my day. This is maybe the food that I'm going to eat. Like you're overriding your prefrontal cortex at that point, and you're not operating from your subconscious 7-year-old running the show. So then of course you're going to have more energy. You're going to feel more clear. You're going to have an idea of what you're going to do, and you get more done. You're more productive.
I really dig that. It's awesome how this is like all lining up with kind of where I'm at in life right now.
Same. It's everything happens for a reason. And, I agree.
Yeah, I really like it. So to kind of recap all of this, let me actually ask this before we go to recap it. Is there anything that you feel that we've missed in this discussion?
Honestly, I'm pretty excited about where the conversation just kind of naturally goes. Interested. I hope that the people who are listening to this, I hope that they reach out and let us know what their experiences are with these cards.
Absolutely, yeah. And I didn't mention it the first time, but the contact information for both of us will be in the show notes. You can get a hold of either one of us on Instagram, I would assume. And yeah, reach out to us. Let us know if you enjoy this, or if you're listening on Anchor, you can send a voice message, and then you can ask Stefanie or I a question. I can play it, and then we can really go from there and kind of respond to you organically. Get involved.
Yeah, like this is a conversation between Ross and I, but we're also wanting to include everybody, which kind of gives me like excitement as we build on the numerology of the tarot. It's like the 1 is the foundation, the 2 becomes self and other, and 3 is community, and then it just it's a natural progression of what we're all kind of here for.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, this is people's opportunity to be the magician, reach out and kind of get involved in the conversation and add to it.
Yeah. Like how are you being a magician this week, Ross? Like what are you working on?
Completely overhauling my website in the sense of making it very simple for people to navigate. And then I have another business besides reading tarot. I'm going through and really taking action on getting that off the ground and having that online. Lots and lots of things. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Obviously reading tarot and managing my website and selling my tarot deck is a huge part of my business, but I'm also kind of developing, everything kind of happens organically, and things evolve from what you think you've started with. And, astrology becoming a bigger part of my business, and kind of the work I'm doing with that. I'm kind of working on my website and how I can bring what I know to the public a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely connect with that and have a lot of respect for that. And it's interesting. This jumps back to the episode that we did last week. And if you haven't listened to it, folks, you can definitely jump back so you can get more understanding. But it's like having that clarity and openness to approach these situations and step into power, because you have to like really come from the space of emptiness to really utilize stuff to its fullest potential, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So let's do the bullet points of this real quick. I'm going to dive right into it. The magician itself is kind of the capstone of the other, I can't talk right now, the aces. And he kind of has the potentiality of all of them. He's a master of all of these elements. So that means clarity of thought, clarity of emotions, divinely guided creativity, and then rooting it all into reality and using the M word. I mean, manifestation, sorry. That's my own personal problem, people. Don't judge me.
It's only a problem because you keep saying it's a problem.
Touche. I'm manifesting it as a problem.
Yeah.
Bullocks. What does the Ace of Cups mean to you?
The Ace of Cups is water, and it's emotion, and it's love, and it's happiness, but it's starting with yourself because it's a 1. So energetically, when you receive this card, where are you at emotionally? What's your heart space looking like? Because you attract your own energy. So if your heart feels lackful, and if your heart feels emotionally unavailable, nobody's going to come in and fix that for you. What did you say? That water seeks its own level?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I can't wait to use that. I'm quoting you.
It's not my quote. I heard it from somebody else, but you can quote me for it. That'd be cool.
I feel like as tarot readers, a lot of times I think like people come to us when they need a reading because they're looking for clarity, and they're looking to kind of like know what that water line, where it's at. And sometimes it's hard for people to admit that to themselves, that they're not quite there. And like we said, that being a professional tarot reader is about holding space and helping people meet themselves where they are.
Yeah, being a mirror for them to kind of see themselves, but doing it in a very respectful way.
Absolutely. I know it was kind of a tangent and not really a bullet point. I'm sorry if you need to redo that part.
No, you're totally cool. We're going to let it run. This is all organic. So what would that look like in an individual? What would that card look like in an individual, or like a real life circumstance?
I think that would be somebody who is taking really good care of themselves. It's about having really good boundaries. It's more than just getting massages and facials and, manicures. Like that's self-care on a really shallow level. Self-care on a deep level is taking responsibility.
No.
For your own shortcomings.
We're not going to do that.
Beating yourself up for it, for forgiving yourself for being human.
We're not going to do that. Come on. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, that's definitely like one of the healthiest things people can do, and probably one of the most responsible things that we can do as well. Interestingly enough, I just had this experience as well, the Ace of Cup experience, and doing my second 6 step, where I really look at all of my defects and kind of take ownership for them, and then like really get clear on who I am and who I want to be. And there's a lot of purity and release and hope and freedom in that. So it's definitely a great place to be at.
Absolutely. Like a lot of times people think that their emotional satisfaction comes from a place of not doing hard work, where they think like, oh, going shopping is going to feed the emptiness within me, or having somebody who tells me I'm beautiful all the time is going to feed that emptiness in me. It's like, no, you have to find your own worth.
Absolutely.
That's the Ace of Cups. And then once you find your worth, then that other person can come in and you can just enjoy their existence because you're not looking to them to validate you in any way.
Hell yeah. I was going to ask you to encapsulate it in a message, and I don't think you could encapsulate it better than that. Not needing validation and being completely okay with you as you are.
Right.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Um, what is your interpretation or the bullet points of the Ace of Swords?
So we kind of talked about the Ace of Swords is having a clear mind so that you can allow the manifestation of your ideas. Can you go back to what you said about it? Because I really liked your bow and arrow and all that.
Okay, so the bow really is kind of like the footwork of everything, and then the arrow would be your intention and kind of shooting it towards the darkness of things in the sense of looking at the uncomfortable truths of everything to gain more clarity and insight. So really, same thing you said. But thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Very much so. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times people are making decisions and reaching for things instead of allowing things to come to them. A lot of times, sometimes we think the work is something we need to write one more email, or we need to make one more blog post, or we need to do something on social media, or go out and do this, that, and the other. And sometimes having, like we talked about, the morning practice of writing things down and cleaning up your energy and your mental space of a place of gratitude, and knowing that's what's going to help you direct it towards what your goal is, and setting an intention and then having the right headspace to allow yourself to figure out what those actionable steps become.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like it. And then when you're in this space of when you've kind of cultivated that emotional clarity, cultivated that attitude of gratitude, you can really begin to root into the world like you would do in the Ace of Pentacles, and really begin to tap into the creativity of the Ace of Wands, correct?
Yes.
So which one do you want to cover next? The Ace of Pentacles or Ace of Wands? I guess creativity comes before the manifestation of it.
Right. Like when you're writing, when you've got, you've meditated and you've cleared your mind and you're feeling good, that's when you're in nature or wherever you are, that's when the ideas come in. Like for you, writing poetry, for me, drawing. It's like we've opened that space up, and then the inspiration comes and you've got to like jump on it. And not jump on it in terms of how can I monetize it? How can I make it tangible? It's just, how can I get it out of my head onto paper or wherever it needs to go? However you're going to make it, whatever your creativity is, how can you just get it out and then worry about the rest later?
And then that would naturally progress into the Ace of Pentacles, which is kind of planting that seed and letting it take root and begin to develop and manifest and kind of grow into the tree, like I have in the background of the Ace of Drums from the suit that I'm using, or the deck that I'm using. Yeah, I really like how we kind of walked through all of that. I hope that everybody else enjoyed that as well. I think that was a really good way of breathing life into it and adding clarity to people. And then just to tie it back to kind of the magician is all about this person who has kind of cleared their emotions so they can get their headspace right. And then with the headspace right, they're able to kind of bring down these new ideas from the divine, whatever you want to call it, source energy, universe, cosmos, plant it into reality, and then let it flourish kind of by being nurtured by all of these other aspects.
Absolutely. The essence of the magician is number one, it's the self, it's the foundation, it's what you build off of. And realizing that you have everything you need within the elements, within yourself to make it all happen.
And this goes into the concept of like to tie back to the fool's journey is kind of, he never needed to go on the journey. He always had all of those gifts with him to tap into. And it's just kind of stepping into your own divine potential as a magician and kind of clearing away the obstructions to your natural gifts and opening yourself up to what you've already always had with you, but you might have shut down, or whatever. Correct?
Yes, absolutely.
One of the questions that I have for you that's come up in my erratic mind that I have is, what is the astrological association for the magician?
I'm so happy you asked. So the magician is the planet Mercury.
Mm.
And Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo. And I like to think of Gemini and Virgo as kind of the same. It's just like, because they have so much mental, cerebral energy, but you've got like Gemini is like the child, and Virgo is like the elder. So they're both wise in their own way.
I like that too, because there's kind of a worldly wiseness and then there's an innocent wisdom as well.
Exactly. And Mercury has everything to do with communication and our thought process, and also speed. Mercury is a fast moving planet, and our minds move so quickly. And when the magician is in flow with all of the elements and with source and spirit, you can manifest things rapidly into your existence.
I like it. Yeah, Mercury is the messenger of the gods in Greek mythology, and it really is all about like really transmitting that pure signal from source and then kind of delivering the message to reality, I guess. Yeah, thanks for the clarity on that. I really dig that.
Absolutely. Like, and kind of what we said before in our last episode, if you're into astrology and you're having any kind of Mercury transit, or wherever Mercury falls in your chart, then you can look at the magician and kind of make a dialogue between. So you could take from your deck, now that we're 2 in, and look at the Fool as Uranus and look at the magician as Mercury and have a conversation. What do the two have to say to one another, and kind of spark off of that? Because sometimes people don't know what they know that they want to like play with their tarot deck, but they don't know what to ask. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'm like, just pull out cards and put them next to each other and look at their body language.
Yeah. I like that. I like the concept of looking at how they play together, like looking at them as like cells in a comic or whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things that came up when you said put the 1 and the 0 together, and this is definitely getting ahead of things, but the Wheel of Fortune is then the essence of the magician and the Fool, correct?
Because it's a 10.
I just wanted to ask that. I don't really want to delve into that. If people want to know more about that, they're going to have to wait a couple more episodes. They got a ways to go. That was me being a tease.
I loved it. It was great. But I mean, that's the wonderful thing about tarot, is the combinations, possibilities, and ceiling for knowledge, like it doesn't exist. Like there's so many ways you can look at it and so many things to learn. That's how we're always the Fool, because no matter how much we learn, we actually know nothing, and we're constantly teaching one another and learning from one another.
Very beautifully articulated. I like it.
Thank you.
So this brings us to the end of this episode, but let us talk about what we're going to be discussing next week. Do you want to lead the bullet points for next week?
Sure. So next week we're going to be talking about the High Priestess, which is a 2, and we're going to be talking about the 2s in each element. So kind of that concept, what the High Priestess represents, the high priestess is between her two pillars of knowledge, and she's receiving. And then the twos become about, you've built your foundation as the one, so you have self and other, and that also brings in the concept of choice.
I like it.
Yes. So that's going to be our topic for next week. So can't wait to see you. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in and hanging with Ross and I.
Yeah. Thank you, Stefanie, for taking the time. And thank you everyone for listening. Reach out to us if you have any questions. If you love it, reach out to us. If you'd like to hear more about a specific topic, reach out to us, and stay tuned to next week. Stay blessed. Thank you for listening. If you love this show, one kind review goes a long way. If you have a question or comment you'd like read on air, please send your email to staff@spiritualphoenixstudios.com or use the link in the show notes.